Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth.
And I'm Katie.
We are both college students as well as members of the HerCapital programming team.
First off, we wanted to thank everyone for engaging with our first event in the HerCapital and Aspiriant Personal Finance Series. In case you missed it, you can find the event on our event page on our website or our YouTube channel.
While we did have a live Q&A, there was such an influx of questions that we could not cover them all in the allotted time period.
The investing questions have gone on to shape our subsequent event that we held at the end of July, but we thought it would be great for Lorraine and Lydia, the wealth managers from Aspiriant, to have a chance to respond to unanswered personal finance related questions.
So for today's discussion, we collected 5 of your most pressing questions, and let's get started. So our first question is, what is the ideal savings target as a percentage of income, depending on your age group? Say 20s, 30s, or 40s. And in general, what would aggressive savings percentage be?
This is a great question. And I think to start off, I'd say that savings is really contingent upon your goals. So remember, the first step of financial planning is understanding your financial goals. And so you want to create a savings target for that goal rather than meeting a pre-prescribed mark. You need to prescribe it specifically to your goal. I'd say a lot of people recommend, 20% of your savings perhaps going into retirement accounts. And, that's a really great mark. I think aggressive would be 50%. But remember, use this in the context of your financial goal. If you want to say retire early, you're going to need to save more into the retirement accounts than, perhaps 20%. So a lot of this is the percentages that you see online are good rules of thumb, but remember to take into consideration your personal goals.
Understood. Building off of that, given those chunks dedicated to your savings, should all of that be invested, or what would be a reasonable percentage?
So let's try to separate short-term savings goals from longer-term savings goals. And we always recommend having those 2 buckets. So the longer-term savings goals should be invested. Try to put as much as you can into your employer-sponsored 401k or an IRA. Shorter-term savings goals can be placed in a money market fund, a savings account, or a CD. Lydia, anything you would like to add to that?
That sounds good to me, Lorraine.
Okay.
Perfect. So our third question is, what are some of the best high yield saving account options then?
So there's a great resource out there called nerdwallet.com. They actually rank a lot of the high yield savings accounts. And so we really recommend you check into these. They update them monthly. One of the high yield savings accounts that I really enjoy personally is Ally Bank. They are unique in that they have a checking account that connects to the savings account, which I think, as far as I know, is the only bank that really does that. For a high yield savings account. Right now, their rate's 1%. Marcus by Goldman Sachs, on the other hand, is at 1.05. So that might be a better interest rate. But if you look back at Ally, they have some technical features that might be appealing. For instance, in the high yield savings account, you're actually allowed to bucket your money into different savings goals. And, without opening multiple different accounts for different things. So that's a unique kind of fun interactive option. We do really recommend looking at NerdWallet. The other thing to consider and just remember is that high yield savings accounts, remember, that's for the short-term goals, just like Lorraine said. So that's going to be, things that are less than 3 years on the runway. Lorraine, anything you want to add in this?
No, that was a great answer. Just again, we really advocate looking at nerdwallet.com as your guide.
Understood. Thank you for that insight. And moving on, do you think there are any potential downsides to putting a significant amount of your savings in a 401k? Do you think that diversification is enough to protect against major risks?
Yeah, so this is a good question. And again, remember, we have three kind of definite categories of financial goals. So paying down debt, having short-term savings, like always have 3 months of emergency savings, but you absolutely have to save for retirement. And I would say there's more risk to not investing in one's 401k. Remember, Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, and an investor who invests early and often from ages 25 to 65 at a fairly high rate of return will have significant savings to fund retirement. The reason this is important is that most everyone will live to age 100 or more, which means you've got to fund about 35 years of retirement if you work until age 65. Diversification will definitely help you manage risk over the long term. Try not to be upset by shorter term fluctuations in the market, but you need an equity orientation for growth over longer periods of time. Lydia, anything else?
Yeah, I think I would just reinforce in the 401k, remember, you can't touch that until you're 60. So do make sure, like Lorraine said, that you have set up to be paying down debt and have your emergency savings, because you're not going to be able to tap the 401k. But again, I impress to you that 401ks often usually they have matches from your employer. Women are already paid, 75 cents on the dollar oftentimes. And if you're not contributing to your 401k, you might be losing out on some of the compensation that would come from that 401k match, because often it's contingent upon you adding funds as well for matching. So just keep in mind your match, keep in mind that you can't touch that money for a little while. So make sure that you don't need to pull on it too soon.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And for our fifth and final question, what is your advice and perspective on balancing paying off debt versus investing versus building savings?
Absolutely. This is a great question. So there is, the debt that's really helpful, and then there's the debt that's really not so helpful. So credit card debt, target that right away. As I've recommended before, it's a little bit of a seesaw, or a balancing act, I think would be a better metaphor. It's, you want to make sure you're building up that emergency savings while also paying down the credit card debt, because you wouldn't want to need to rely on further credit card spending in order to cover yourself in the case of an emergency where your income stopped. So yeah, balance for sure. Make sure that you're setting up paying off debt for credit cards. After that, many people have student loans. That's good debt. That helps you build credit if you're paying it on time, if you're paying it well. And it's usually in like the 5% range for interest rates, rather than the double-digit range for interest rates that you get with credit cards. So if you can really balance putting into your 401k and and paying down your student debt, think of them both as expenses for the month. That's a really important thing to do. There's no reason to feel that you need to pay off your student loans faster in order to, and then not contribute to your 401k. That can be done simultaneously.
All right, thank you. That makes a lot of sense. With that, this wraps up our quick Q&A. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully our responses were helpful in clarifying and building upon the content of our previous event.
Yep, and once again, a huge thank you to Lorraine and Lydia for sharing their insights with us. Be sure to look out for RSVP information to tune into our next event with Aspiriant, dedicated to how to tangibly get started with investing. As always, our events will be live and posted on our YouTube if you want to watch later.
Mm-hmm. And also be sure to follow HerCapital socials to join our community and consistently engage with the personal finance and investing tidbits, resources, and encouragement there.
So thank you so much for joining.
And see you soon.
Thank you again. We're
Thank
honored to
you.
help.
Honored.